President, to talk with you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant. Well, in the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship. So, and we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is again in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So let's talk about what we can do jointly, and we are ready to do what we can. And you know that we gave support to Ukraine, and that we are looking for more pressure on Russia. The European Union did, and we should talk about that.
Ты мій рятувальний круг, рятувальний круг. Ти мій рятувальний круг, рятувальний круг, рятувальний круг. Ти мій рятувальний круг. Я ще не забула той час, коли плавала рибка на дні. І що було треба для щастя мені, аби при собі всі тримали свій гнів. Я все малювала в уяві, що я не у ямі, що поміч є тисячі рук. А то були стіни і стеля, і я немов скеля, навколо якої є круг. Мій рятувальний. Чи є би тепло, ще так гріло, хто б кутав мене, хто би оберігав. Хто б навіть не словом, а ділом, а просто присутній, бо він не втікав. Сховав би від цього на світі, та просто прийняв мене, не нарікав. А я вже давно прийняла його, він тільки мій, я його не віддам. Нікому ніколи, разом або внизимо, стрімко нагору. Разом ми мовчим і сміємося хором. І завжди зі мною про нього говорять. В купі ілюзій забили на правду, які в нього форми, якого він складу. Чому так кортить його всім обійняти, чому він так мене дівчат? Під моїм серцем знову несеться. Інколи думаю, в чому той сенс? Як виглядаю поруч з тобою? Я падала, ти ж уникав мені болю. Я плакала, жити хотіла без тебе, робила усе, щоб ти зник. Я сама ще не знала, що ж мені треба. Тепер я щаслива, хай гасне останній сірник. Де моя воля, мої зусилля? Ти моя частка, ти мій стимул. Де моя воля, мої зусилля? Жила життя, як написано. Ти моя частка, ти мій стимул. Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Коли зриває дах.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Коли на серці страх.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Без тебе як без рук.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Я твій ліпший друг.
Ти мій ліпший друг.
Коли зриває дах.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Коли на серці страх.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Без тебе як без рук.
Ти мій рятувальний круг.
Я твій ліпший друг.
Ти мій ліпший друг.
Yeah, little Ukrainian hip hop to start us off.
Hey,
Was that
nice.
Ukrainian? That was awesome. Oh, that
That
was
was Alyona Realvialtny crew, which is Lifebuoy ring.
Nice. Well done,
Word.
High Fidelity. Thank you so much for all the thought you put into our intros. Jim and I see them live, and that music was amazing. And wow, can we just get off this timeline, please? I'm so tired. Welcome everybody to RadPod and Not So Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with my two dear friends, Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity. We've been doing this a long time, and today was really heavy. Thank you to everybody who supports RadPod and who watches our interviews. We brought back Zarina Zabriskie. It was urgent. There was complete annihilation today in Kherson. As you guys know, she has been shooting and directing a documentary about the ongoing war crimes in Kherson, Ukraine. And today her crew captured footage of what appears to be a retaliatory strike. And I kind of think we should just start with that. I mean, what do you guys say? What do you say? What do you say,
I
Blaze?
mean, I don't
Hold
know.
on, can we ease
Hold-
people into it?
Yeah, hold on, Heidi. I think you're burying the lead right now because there's a lot going on, and I'm
Right.
looking at the comments, and I just have an overall vibe that we need to get rid of the elephant in the room before we.
I picked a
because I
bad
agree-
decade to stop smoking weed, you guys. Okay, go ahead.
I agree that Zarina is the story here and the important
Yeah.
one, but
Yeah.
I think we need to let some of the air out of the elephant because holy shit. Let's just taking
Are
a
you
deep
talking
breath.
about the Musk and Trump reality
Yeah,
show? Because
it's not a fucking reality show, Heidi. It's no, no, no. I need you to stop that because this
all
is
right.
actually the real world, right? What's happening here is that two of the most powerful people on planet Earth are no longer allied. This gives us a giant fucking crack that we can drive a truck through, and we have to
Yeah,
take that
I saw your
seriously.
work. I've been reading your Substack, Jim.
Okay, but so you know, I understand the you know we have to cover all of these things, but trust me here, like this there are a couple of things that have converged here to cause this, right? First of all, fuck what happened today. Let's first talk about Operation Spiderweb and the historic fucking James Bond shit that Ukraine pulled off. Because that like nobody on earth had a clue,
Yeah,
especially Donald Trump.
yeah.
And it absolutely completely changed the entire picture here and contributed, I assure you, to everything that's going on right now. All of this stuff, because Putin got his nose popped hard. Remember, if you haven't read my stuff, a lot of those warplanes were closer to Alaska than Kyiv. He protected the United States better than anybody in the goddamn government. Zelensky did. So that was a big old pop right in the nose of Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump is on the phone, has no idea what to like. Trump is confused as fuck about Putin at this point. I genuinely think he just doesn't understand it. And so all of this clash between you know, Trump and Vance is really real and really important. For example, just off the top of my head, Trump just threatened to cancel Elon Musk's contract and subsidies, something that all of us have wanted for a long fucking time. So look, we can't pick the war that we're involved in. As Trotsky said, you may not be interested in war. War is interested in you. This is the war that we're in. And so when these big moves happen, we should take advantage of them. And so I think there's a simple, just to lay it out briefly, there's a simple series of steps here, right? Elon Musk and Donald Trump hate each other. Elon Musk is trying to impeach Donald Trump, will absolutely try a 25th Amendment, all of these things, right? Now, the problem for the pro-democracy forces is that J.D. Vance is fucking worse.
We know
That's
that.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Because the surveillance state that they want to put around us will be complete. There will be nothing to stop that from happening. So we can't sit here and hope that they get rid of Donald Trump because trust me. So what do we have to do? We have to get rid of J.D. Vance. And the only constitutional way to do that is for Donald Trump to impeach him. So whether or not that actually plays out, like let them fucking train their fire on each other. Let them like have these colossal battles amongst themselves so that we can get our own shit together and show MAGA and the rest of the world how absolutely amoral, corrupt, and broken this entire thing is. So, whether or not, you know, that ever happens or not, I want to get it in Trump's head that he is surrounded. I want him paranoid. He's like, you got everybody all the people around you are against you. JD Vance met with Laura Loomer behind your back the other night, Donald, right? Like
Mm.
shoving
I
these
hate
narratives and
these
ideas
people
in this young
so
man.
much.
I
I
know
hate
I hate him
all of
too,
them.
my
I
dear.
hate them
And
so much with every
nevertheless, we
fiber of
fight
my
on.
being.
I know.
I know we do, Jim. I know we do. I hate them all. I look at it as just the same framing that we wrote about. Welcome to West Russia. Oligarchs running the politicians. We see it over and over again. And I do hear echoes of what Jeff Charlotte told us many years ago, how these are all going to be very strange bedfellows and they're all going to hate each other. And I hear echoes of what Nancy McLean said when she said, when these types of regimes form, they often collapse under the weight of their own corruption. But when you say things like, they're trying to build this surveillance state, they've already fucking built it. I look at those, I don't even use the acronym anymore. I call them like, Unit Kremlin 9, like those minions that Musk brought in. I don't like using their propaganda words. I don't want to use their fucking acronyms. It makes them sound like, I don't know. It's just, but hold on, Jim, makes my skin crawl. We allowed the equivalent of a Kremlin hacker crew into our entire infrastructure. And I feel like, we've already been captured. So what are we going to do about it? I don't think like it's coming. I think it's here.
No, I understand, but there is a very big difference between the government of the United States actively conspiring with those oligarchs who have the technology that are creating that surveillance state and being adamantly opposed to it. When those two things cooperate, when the state and private corporations collaborate to create a surveillance state, that is when you get the Third Reich. That is what the Third Reich was. Himmler was head of a whole shitload of corporations, right? That is the setup that they were pushing towards, and that this split at least gives us a chance to
To wedge
to
that
flex a
motherfucker.
little.
Wedge. High fidelity, your fingers up. I have a question for you before you go with the finger, the big
All right,
finger up.
hit me with the
I have a
question.
question for you, High Fidelity. Is Peter Thiel still a piece of garbage?
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Because
Yes.
clearly, as Jim wrote today,
Yes, yes.
the $40 million worth of tax advice that Peter Thiel got, looking a little bit like that's a questionable backstory.
Okay, hold on a second here.
No,
Let's
no.
talk
Wait,
about
well,
this.
before
No,
we get to
no, Jim,
before,
you've been talking long enough. My turn. My turn.
all
No,
right, all
I
right,
had
but
the
I was
finger.
answering
I had
Heidi.
the finger. I had the finger. All right.
You always have
Look,
the finger.
when it comes to Epstein, we know Thiel is involved with Epstein because Epstein's making Thiel money. We know Elon Musk was involved with Ghislaine and Epstein
Wait, what is
because of
that?
some
You have
kung
to
fu email.
unpack that.
All right.
What
We're
does that
talking
mean?
about Peter Thiel being a piece of garbage and the money that Epstein invested with Velar, which was a Peter
Right,
Thiel company, and has
right.
now turned that $40 million investment into $170 million. Now,
For
Peter
Epstein's
Thiel
uh,
estate,
what-
for Epstein's estate. Okay, so Thiel is involved with Epstein. We know Musk is involved with Epstein because there's this kung fu class email. We know Trump is involved with Epstein because there's fucking video, right? They're all going to lie about it. They're all going to backstab each other. All that
Word.
matters is the bigger picture that all three of them are involved with Epstein. Okay. Now, what we need to do is game out what should be done. What Donald Trump should do is, yes, he should have Speaker Mike Johnson immediately draw up articles of impeachment for JD Vance. Why? Because JD Vance is the backstabber that will take Trump's position. We know this. Everybody knows this. There's a reason why, if you go back to our live streams and go back to our presidential debate live stream from June 28th, 2024, I said Vance will be vice president, and that's because Peter Thiel. All right. And sure as everything, 2 weeks later, JD Vance is vice president never acted shocked, which is stupid.
Okay,
Right?
high fidelity. Hold
Go-
on, hold on, hold
Yes.
on, hold on. We need to see the rest of your shirt. It looks like an Elon Musk promo shirt. Okay, I feel much better now. All right, there you go.
Elon
Okay,
Musk is a fucking problem. All right.
right. Okay.
So we've got the Nazi billionaires. We have Donald Trump, Donald Trump's mob. Let's just face it, and he's Russian mob. If I were Donald Trump, I would take everything Elon Musk and Peter Thiel have and sentence them for being traitors and get Mike Johnson to draw up articles of impeachment against JD Vance because it's a winner takes all game. And the next thing he has to do is turn against Putin because Putin will come out against him. If Trump wants to survive, that's what he does. Now, if I'm the Vance Thiel Musk conglomerate, yep, Article 25, or Trump's going to have some sort of health problem, or who knows, maybe they'll get somebody on another rooftop to shoot at him again. I mean, that's
Jim,
what's going
what
to
do you
happen.
say to all this? What do you say to all this?
Am I wrong?
No, I'm pretty sure I just said that he should impeach JD Vance. Look, the Epstein thing is also actually really important here, right? What I was going to say when Heidi brought up the $40 million was Peter Thiel went, and this is important because this is the kind of thing that can open people's eyes. Peter Thiel went on Joe Rogan, it was somewhere around June or July of last year. And it had just been reported that Peter Thiel had met with Jeffrey Epstein a couple of times in 2014. And Peter Thiel said, and I couldn't believe he actually said this, that he went for tax advice. That Peter Thiel went to go see Jeffrey Epstein because he heard that Jeffrey Epstein was amazing at the taxes. Because Peter Thiel doesn't have tax attorneys, he has to go to the local pedophile for that.
Is that a euphemism? Is tax advice a euphemism?
No, well, like kung fu practice is a euphemism.
Yeah, right.
But
Right.
no, he said it out loud and like elaborated on the story and everything. Well, it turns out, and this again is important, Peter Thiel, it's just been reported in the New York Times, received in 2015 and 2016, and those are important dates, a $40 million investment from Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Now, so he literally just went on Joe Rogan and lied to all the MAGAs, right? And so I'm trying to get Joe Rogan, yelling as loud as I can, yo, Joe, get Peter back on, ask him about this. Because those are really the kinds of things that make people go like this. And I'm going to tell you one thing, and this is important. I have been monitoring a lot of different places and spaces, and thank you to Gal Squad and especially for always monitoring these things and keeping, letting me hop into the good ones when they show up. But let me tell you, every single one of them is like, fuck Palantir, fuck Peter Thiel, fuck the surveillance state, all of them. From left to right to middle, to all of them.
That's a new development, yeah?
It's not totally new, but it is absolutely
accelerating.
Yes.
Wow.
When we're going to give Peter Thiel $700 million to do a master database with your biometrics and your DNA and your psychological information and your medical, everybody's like, what? And you don't have to have a nuanced understanding of the world to understand that when people have that shit, they can hurt you with it, right?
Yeah, right.
So right. I think there is that is a thing that is not left or right. That is really like a freedom or not freedom thing.
Yeah, right.
And I think there are people who who are leaping to defend Elon Musk and Palantir and all that shit. Guess who that is? That's the Russians. Guess who's that's the thing that's so interesting about this, right? Because who cooperated with both Elon Musk and Donald Trump? The fucking Russians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So now the Russians have to pick. Right? I mean, they don't really care because as long as the United States is being diminished and embarrassed and destroyed in front of everybody's face, it doesn't really matter to them. Go for it. But at the end of the day, they still want to win this war in Ukraine. And I will tell you that a lot of this and a lot of the just brutal sort of behavior and shot taking on both sides, that, like, Putin has said that he will retaliate, and we'll hear from Zarina, he has retaliated.
Yeah, right.
But Putin has said that he will retaliate on his own time. I think it's true that he didn't just retaliate. He won't just retaliate against Ukraine. He's retaliating against the United States.
Oh, this is asymmetrical warfare, but I wonder if they've been getting any visitations from the ghost of Prigozhin, I mean, that must be keeping people up at night. Jim, I have so many questions for both of you, but Jim, super quick, you wrote something called Cracked House, Drug, Thripples, and Money. I don't think we've talked since that expose on Musk came out, and it was revealed that he had gone to KGB charm school and came out a ketamine addict. that was me joking about that, but I don't know if we've actually addressed that there's actually been some
About his drug?
yeah. No, I mean we've addressed it in the past, but wasn't it like a New York Times expose that go ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So speaking of everyone knowing things, everyone knows that Elon Musk is on drugs.
Yeah.
It's clear to anybody who's ever taken drugs or not taken drugs, right? Either way, you're like, that guy's fucked up. So it turns out he is so fucked up so often that he can't pee.
Yeah.
Literally can't pee. Ketamine.
That'd be very uncomfortable.
And when it builds up in your system, it's an anesthetic, and then you just numb. He just numbed his own dick to death. I'm sorry to say it that way. Sorry.
I'm so glad I asked.
But ketamine is a dissociative, and so one thing that's important is Tony Hsieh. If people aren't aware of Tony Hsieh, if you've ever bought shoes from Zappos, he was the founder of Zappos, the CEO, and also a ketamine addict. And Tony Hsieh ended up in a shed with a box of crayons, a large canister of nitrous, and a lighter. And he went up in flames because, and this is important, he thought the Matrix was real. He thought the simulation hypothesis that we're all just in a big computer and that you could manipulate it with the right hacksaws. And he was experimenting with his powers of reality by burning himself to crisp in a fucking shed. Now, if you pay any attention to Elon Musk, he says this shit all the time. That this is his whole thing in his head, is that he really doesn't see any of this as real. It's all a fantasy sort of alternate reality simulation that he's created for himself. And so I think the most sort of astonishing thing is, first of all, why didn't we hear about this before? And I think that's because Trump's team leaked it. You
Oh,
know,
interesting.
but
Yeah.
but also Elon Musk is a sick man,
Mm.
in a lot of different ways. But the fact that he seems a shitload crazier now is due to a lot of reasons, but one of those is certainly the fact that he has been taking hardcore animal tranquilizers for many, many years, to the point that his bladder doesn't work.
Wow. Thank you for that update. I do
Well,
also
you're
want to
welcome.
ask you. I know, I know. Thank you for that. Thank you for that update. I think, Jim, I think. But one more important thing that I'd like to get into, since we're going to be continuing to discuss this, and then we will get into the breaking news that we got from Zarina, which is so devastating. I think it's important that Operation Spiderweb exposed further, for those who have not been paying attention, what side some of the members of the Trump administration or some fringe players are on. And can you speak a bit on that? Because, ain't nobody trying to hide their allegiances right now.
Yeah, so you guys may or may not have heard that I have a little bit of a thing going with Mike Flynn, and so
Not a romantic thing by any
not
means.
not that. No, not romantic. The other thing. Anyway,
It's a hate-love relationship.
I've been called Blue Anon for many, many years for all sorts of things. You know, Russia, blah blah blah. Mike Flynn, blah blah blah. Mike Flynn's a Russian agent. Mike Flynn is literally a proxy of the Kremlin now. Like, I mean, the way he proposes a literal purge of the United States government of who? Of people who are against the Russian regime.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
he said that the deep state has people embedded in the government that don't like Russia. And what needs to happen is that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel need to go find all of these people before they start WW3 with Russia.
So
Because,
gross.
and this is the reason, because Donald Trump didn't know that Zelensky was going to fuck up Putin's planes. And so clearly there's a conspiracy of the deep state inside the government to keep this from Trump. Now, what's amazing about this, briefly, is that he's defending Putin and Putin's war on Ukraine by saying somebody's going to hold intelligence from Donald Trump. Now, how did Russia get into Ukraine in the first place?
Because Michael Flynn withheld intelligence.
Mike Flynn held intelligence from Obama,
Yeah.
so that Putin could invade. And if you're not aware of this, he had information from the NSA and the CIA and the DIA from Obama until all of a sudden there were little green men in all of these places in Crimea, and it was too late. So Mike Flynn is out here saying that we need to purge the government of anybody who doesn't like Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And he's doing it by accusing the intelligence community of the very thing that allowed Russia to invade Crimea in the first place.
Right. Mike Flynn also graduated from KGB charm school, and I'm sure that he has his diploma on the wall, graduating top of his class. So listen.
Hold on 1 second, Heidi.
We
also need to mention who gave Palantir.
I realize that, Jim. What's that?
Who gave Palantir their first military contract?
Well, that would be Michael Flynn.
Yeah. Who is Palantir? Here's a real question. Who invested in Palantir and was Palantir's only customer for 5 years?
The CIA.
The Central Intelligence Agency of the United States under George W. Bush while they were renditioning and torturing and doing all that shit. which is
Our work
something
here
that
is done.
when I tell the QAnons and stuff, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Then I start telling them about the connections to Mossad, and then they go totally crazy.
Yeah, well, here we are. What fun. So listen, in all seriousness, we have
Conspiracies are real, guys.
yeah, unfortunately. So listen, it's already halfway through the show, and that was quite brilliant, by the way. That was a lot of information, and I'm grateful because now I'm kind of like more awake and ready to go here. I would like to make sure we save time for Zarina Zabriskie. I'd like to open with the opening clip, and just to frame it, we had her on the show today. We were originally going to talk about the two new bombshell reports that she also her work was featured in, because Zarina was the only reporter in Kherson, Ukraine, when the Russians began hunting civilians with drones in a terror campaign, a psychological campaign, a campaign to deprive people of their life and any agency, a total fear campaign. And now the United Nations and Human Rights Watch have both issued reports just the last few days. UN's report came out last week, and the Human Rights Watch report came out yesterday. And they basically say these are crimes against humanity. These are war crimes. If this is not stopped, it is coming to a war zone near you. It's already happening in other war zones. And so this is a huge deal. Many of you know that she just finished directing a film. And then, of course, today she finds out the news. She is not actually in Ukraine at the moment. She'll be heading back there soon. But she finds out the news that there was a retaliatory strike devastating Kherson, and you're going to hear about that now.
Злобин, 10 человек погиб.
Вот, а сегодня был утренний удар кабом. Ну, было взрывов несколько. Вчера вечером был удар сильный, а я боюсь тут уже и находиться, потому что тут страшно находиться в этом месте. Тут это у меня уже окна, стены уже разбиты, блядь, 10 или 15 раз.
Yeah. So do you have the clip of Zarina explaining what that's about?
Was that clip 2?
You can use clip 2, but I had you string out her soundbite where she commented on that. So I
Oh,
don't know
nope,
if you have that. All right,
I
just
don't.
go to clip 2, and we'll reiterate what she said.
Just 2 hours from now, as we speak, 2 more aerial bombs. One, I know for a fact, is 1,500 kilograms bomb hit the White House, the iconic building at Freedom Square, again, completely collapsing it, destroying it. So now in the middle of Freedom Square, and with the prospect of independence, we have a ruined building. The spirit of Khersonians is not ruined. I spoke to many. They even managed to joke and say that, well, they helped us. Now we don't have to disassemble the whole thing. It will be easier to rebuild. I want to note here that Kherson stands strong.
Yeah, so basically, Zarina reported on what happened today in detail. So if you go to our episode, please watch it on YouTube. And she explained that the retaliation was likely due to Operation Spiderweb, as well as the United Nations report and the Human Rights Watch report calling out these crimes against humanity. And unfortunately, her sources revealed that Putin was actually watching this occur, and there are promises for additional devastation. In her film, which we will hopefully be screening with many of you at some point soon. Hopefully, we'll show the trailer at the end of this episode if you have that, Hi-Fi. She follows these incredible people who are so brave. They're not leaving their homes, and they are continually in these crises situations and always continuing to go on and rescue people and help others. And it is just really the most incredible reporting, and we're so grateful to her.
I mean, what she's been telling us about this for a long year or something. I mean, a long time that this started to happen, and nobody believed, or it's not that they didn't believe her necessarily. It's just people just like it's a little too much to think that there's actually systematic hunting of human beings using fucking drones flying out of the sky with little explosives on them just to maim and murder civilians, right? Now, again, and to Zarina's point about the spirit of Ukrainians, they started getting attacked with drones, and what did they do? They said, oh, okay, well, we're going to take your drones, and we're going to not, by the way, not a single person in Russia was killed by that attack the other day by those drones, unlike what Russia does every single day. The Ukrainians said, oh, well, we're going to take those drones and we're going to show you how to use those to absolutely decimate your your bomber fleet. So, extremely proud of just knowing Zarina and that, she's been so generous with her time to tell everybody what's going
Yeah,
on.
it's absolutely maddening. And I know that you're right. It's really hard, I think, for people to wrap their heads around it. But because not nobody, but because so few people bothered to wrap their heads around what's been going on in Ukraine for the last 11 years. That is why America is in the situation that it's in, because we weren't paying attention to what was happening in Ukraine, because the same players that brought, this Russian plague to Ukraine are the same people that brought this plague to America. People like Paul Manafort working, earning millions of dollars to, install Putin puppets and come up with clever slogans, and those same slogans made their way to America. And it's just absolutely incredible. So when she tells you about civilians being hunted by drones, just know that things that happened in Ukraine ultimately make their way to the West. So people need to really care. And I had an interesting experience recently where I walked into a storefront in a European city. It was like a pop-up storefront that was focused on war crimes. And I asked for, where's the section, supporting Ukraine? Where's like a hat? Where's a t-shirt? And the person behind the counter, who had what sounded to me like a Russian accent, said, well, we don't support that here because I personally am pro-Russian. And he started just to like vomit Russian propaganda talking points. So clearly I walked into a useful idiot or throwaway agent pop up. He wasn't even like really convincing with the talking points, but as I looked around, I could see the whole thing was just a diversion to make people look away from Ukraine. Anybody who walked in there was going to be told to look elsewhere, but they were not going to be told anything honest about Ukraine. And I'm just hoping that I know our audience is much savvier, but I'm hoping that the world starts to wake up to how easily so much of the West has been polluted by Russian trickery, everything from a pop up storefront to what we see on the internet. And we just have to get a lot savvier because nobody is coming to save us from this shit.
Well, it's going to be funny to see, not funny, but it'll be interesting to see if Trump and Musk throw the Russians at each other. Probably not, because and then that's sort of the most interesting. That's the last sort of layer to go, right? When they start ratting each other out as foreign agents, and one of the things that's really, again, really interesting here is Elon Musk has been a project of Vladimir Putin for as long as Donald Trump. In case people aren't familiar, Musk started SpaceX after going to Moscow 3 times to meet with the Russians, who he said when he came back, he was convinced that actually, yes, this is something that could be done, and was immediately connected with Dana Rohrabacher, who Heidi is extremely familiar with, and Hat Tip Dave Troy, we know was he was overtly a pro-Putin congressman, and he was the guy who walked Elon Musk all the way through the entire congressional process that allowed him to privatize space and do SpaceX. So, this project of getting Elon Musk in a position to be extracting billions of dollars from the government in order to put his own personal fantasies of Mars into space, but also to give the Russians a catbird seat into the entire both space and defense industries of the United States. Musk is put all of that at risk today by going fucking nuclear on Donald Trump, and vice versa. So,
well,
there is a scenario here that shit starts to really not work out for Elon Musk. Boy, howdy.
Oh man, and even before SpaceX, as Hi-Fi always reminds us, where did PayPal get its money from? Russian bagmen. So, this has been a long project. We know that what I call the KGB, because I don't think they ever went away. They play a long game, and their job, after the fall of the Soviet Union, what the KGB job was, Putin's, gangster crew from St. Petersburg, was to infiltrate the West with in as many different areas with as much money as possible. And this is the culmination of that. Yes, High Fidelity. I saw the finger.
A lot of it goes back to Epstein, but even more than Epstein, it goes to Ghislaine Maxwell, and more especially Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert, right? We know that Robert Maxwell was a KGB agent who also had ties to Israel. He was a media magnet. He was playing all sides, right? It's
MI6 in that too. He was legit MI6 as well as Mossad.
Wild.
Connected to the Russians.
So yeah, we've got agents upon agents. This is a bizarre world of foreign agents and spies and compromat. I mean, what was the evidence taken from Epstein's townhouse other than probably the world's largest treasure trove of compromat on rich and famous people?
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Go ahead.
and in case people missed it, Elon Musk openly and overtly said out loud that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, which is like the least shocking thing in the world. But
Well, here's my
it,
question. Here's my question.
yeah.
Who gave Elon Musk access to the Epstein files for him to know that Trump was in them?
Well, who knows? He might be
Yeah.
just making
Right.
making shit
Right.
up.
Stirring the
Like
pot.
you have no idea. But around in the fucking White House for months.
Yeah.
And
Knows
who's
all
the
of
current director of the
hold
FBI?
on. Yes, Cat the fucking Chud is who spent like 2 weeks traveling around waiting for Gretzky, or what's his name, to break Gretzky's record, Putin's hockey player.
Yeah.
Anyway.
His tweets are very troubling. They're literally just like, I mean,
Well,
I'm sure that
they're QAnon tweets, and
I
so
know that. I know.
I know you know that. Speaking of
I
which,
just
I mean, so Flynn is out here just completely redoing Q now right from his own Twitter account, and that's another very sort of interesting thing that seems to be happening. There seems to be a blooming and general awareness that, okay, Mike Flynn was the guy who was behind QAnon this whole time, and what are we going to do about it? This is happening inside of QAnon, inside of many of these chat rooms, including in some places where Flynn's own people are. So it's a very interesting moment. I knew that a moment like this would come. I didn't know if I expected it in June already.
coming fast. Yeah. Yeah.
But a whole lot of the sort of mythology and stuff that got us to where we are has been is being exploded right in front of the people who were led to believe it.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's been around the horn now a few times, I've seen when people can kind of break, when they can see a light at the end of the tunnel that they might not have seen before. And it's at times like this when it's like, wait, Mom and Dad, you guys were supposed to love each other forever, but you don't. And you're arguing all the time, and you're not arguing about me. You're arguing about money, right?
Yeah,
Was
there's
I
opportunity.
adopted? Right? You want them to start asking questions. Am I adopted? Why am I like? Why is this happening to me? Because I see it literally in front of me, and I know Gal and others will tell you, there's a lot of people just questioning what the fuck is going on, and it's not just on our side of the horn. And I will land here. We should take advantage of this. I think it's incumbent on the sane world to take advantage of situations like this, not to gloat, right?
Right.
It's okay to have fun. It's okay to be, I feel a little bit of glee when the shit goes wrong with the other side, but also use it. Think strategically. Why is this happening in this moment? Are people around me that are normally extremely focused on one thing? Is there an opportunity to talk to them?
Right. Thank you so much for that. And when I see people show up with weird bruises, I just think about how Putin's chief propagandist, Lafiev, one day showed up on his show bruised up and never said anything about it. And I know that it was just odd that Musk had a bruise. Of course, he had a story that his son punched him. But I also think about the weird times that, Mitch McConnell would show up bruised, and people would just like trip on their own heads and then, not recover. And it's just a weird,
Can we talk about
weird
that for a minute?
world. What's that?
About his bruise? so he had a bruise on his
Yeah.
right eye, meaning that there was a lefty. So I don't
As like a
know what
shiner.
hand the little X is, but Elon Musk's story was, get this, he said, I taped and transcribed it because it was so amazing. Like, I was just walking around one day and I said to little X, punch me in the face. And he did. And it turns out that can hurt somebody too. And I was like, okay, first of all, bullshit. That didn't happen. But second of all, think about what he's saying there. If any parent here thinks that that's normal, I sincerely want you to talk to somebody, because that's not fucking normal at all. A 5-year-old giving permission to a 5-year-old child to punch anyone in the face, even their own father, especially their own father, maybe, is just abusive in a damaging sort of psychopathic way that I can't, it's not physically abusive, but that is the way that you turn people into psychopaths, is by normalizing violence to them as children, by doing all of the things that he is manifestly doing. So my guess is that he has done that before, that he plays these sorts of games with his own horrible, cruel games with his own son, but actually wanted to cover up for Stephen Miller punching him in the face, because Stephen Miller is left-handed and Elon Musk took Stephen Miller's wife with him out of the Oval Office into Elon Musk's own organization instead. So there is speculation, but I would not put it past even scrawny Goebbels impersonator Stephen Miller to punch Elon Musk right in the face, which would also explain some things like canceling Jared Isaacman, who was Elon Musk's personal guy for NASA, and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, Trump didn't just summarily sort of say bye-bye. He gave Musk a couple of pretty big middle fingers on the way out, which led to, a lot of this.
Wow, man.
Anywho.
All I know is there doesn't seem to be a shred of integrity among any of them, a shred of decency, a shred of empathy. It's a cold, cold crew out there. High Fidelity, we should have 2 more clips from Zarina, yeah?
Now, all of this is most possibly the response to several things. One of them you might have heard, that by now already is famous spiderweb operation, which badly damaged Russian Air Force by Ukrainian drones. But there were 2 other events that were overlooked behind all the other events that were happening this week. But they are very important. Both United Nations Inquiry Committee and Human Rights Watch teams independently published reports, one on the 28th of May and another one on the 2nd of June, confirming that the human safari, as you have heard me reporting on this program for almost a year, the small commercial drones attack on civilians, qualify not just as war crimes, but also the crimes against humanity. And there's a distinction between these 2 crimes. The crime against humanity proves that the crime is committed in a sustained, organized manner and is performed by the Russian state. and both reports asked for accountability. Neither of these bodies have a mandate to prosecute, but they call for prosecution. Especially Human Rights Watch report calls for the legal bodies, for the international courts to impose necessary sanctions, because the report says if this does not happen, every city and every settlement in the war zone will look like Kherson looks today.
Thank you. That was actually part of the first clip, but it was still good to hear it directly from Zarina. So thank you so much. How many more clips do we have left? Because it's almost our show, guys. One more. Is that the trailer?
The
Or do you have
trailer.
another clip? Is that the trailer?
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so let's save that for the end. So parting words from anybody. Is there anything that we didn't cover that we should have?
I don't
It's
know,
just
Heidi.
a
That's you
shit
can't.
show out there. I mean, like,
You can't.
what?
You can't.
Well,
What?
here's
Yeah.
the biggest problem, right? The biggest problem is the only people really talking about this. Like, you see little bits and pieces float to the surface in the sewer that is the media, right? Like the story about Teal and Epstein popping up.
Yeah.
But you don't see kind of the holistic view of this
Yeah.
whole mess.
Yeah. Give it
And
to us straight, High Fidelity.
well, it's a Gordian knot, right? It's a
Mm.
huge twisted web of billionaires, technology, espionage, blackmail, abuse, violence, organized crime, money laundering. It's a
Yeah. I
massive
mean,
story.
the
Hold
good.
on, but here's the very simple solution to this Gordian knot. Vladimir Putin must fall.
Mm.
Period.
Word.
It's not but I mean, he must,
Yes.
but that's not the solution,
What is
right?
it, Jim?
You know, I mean, we have multiple axes here upon which to which is part of the the thing that makes this particular one so interesting, because to me it crosses over a whole bunch of these constituencies that have sort of come together across the oligarchy and the religious right and all of the other stuff that Donald Trump sort of represents, right? Yeah, I think right now we are seeing, I keep talking about this phrase, brittle fascism. In some ways fascism is always brittle because it's not a scalable enterprise. But when you have a consistent ideology and a consistent sort of, movement behind it, you can do a hell of a lot more damage. And right now, the fascism we're seeing is this, to your point, this interconnected sort of weird fucking
Messy.
knot. And what we're seeing right now is a whole bunch of those things having to be severed all at the same time. So there is what I would call on Twitter the great sorting.
Yeah.
So for example, Ian Miles Chong, if you don't know him, the little mutant,
the little Indonesian guy. The little Indonesian guy.
Yeah, and he immediately said, "Well, in a war between Elon and Trump, I'd choose Elon. Yeah. He should be impeached." And Elon Musk says, "Yes." Yeah. And so
he reports on American politics from Malaysia, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he's been a Russian agent, but which is why he went. So we have
interesting, because those are very interesting observations, Jim. Interesting tells.
It's interesting to see which side people come out on. I'm saying it's like putting the sorting hat on at the beginning of Harry Potter to find out whether you're Slytherin or
well, when everybody's a criminal, I mean,
everybody's Slytherin.
Yeah,
but
I do know what you mean. Yeah, there's not a lot of warm and fuzzy going on there. It's going to be cold, cold, cold. So High Fidelity, any final thoughts before we show our friends the final cut of Zarina's brilliant trailer to her film Harsan Human Safari? I want to remind people you will see a dancer in this trailer. The dancer opens every sequence, and she is basically the eyes and ears of this community. She sort of embodies it, and it is quite a beautiful way to show the resilience and spirit and just incredible commitment of these people.
Well, I'm not going to step on that.
Началась война. Обстріл, просто какой-то хаос в городе.
Всі хотіли воювати, були готові воювати там з лопатою, з ножом, з палкою, з охотничим ружьом.
Знову тисячі херсонців на центральній площі.
Вообще жесть, вилізти на русський БТР.
Я тоже не бессмертна, но не страх, а злость.
По ночам ходили, стреляли просто потому, что пьяные были.
С той стороны не выпускали поехать в Херсон. И под автоматами.
И я теперь такой, знаешь, такой свобода.
Весь город, грубо говоря, это большой тир, а ты в нем мишень.
Так кто же там взорвал? Зачем взорвали? Русские взорвали. Ого! Ебать!
Сафарі на людей йде.
Здається, як дуже багато бджіл. Насправді це дрони.
Не вспіли, може кинути.
Они говорят, что они победили нацизм? Нет. Они забрали его себе.
Пока мир спит, мы здесь умираем.